how much revenue could you expect from a property that you put onto Airbnb, right? Let's say if you go out and buy one and you want to throw it up on Airbnb, how much is that going to make? That's probably the question that you are concerned with right now, and you're trying to find an answer to that. Well, this training is meant to teach you my process to be able to predict the annual revenue of a property that you're considering to purchase. Okay. Now, who am I and why am I worthy to be able to give this training in the first place? Well, my name's John Bianchi. I'm the Airbnb data guy, and I have predicted the annual revenue for hundreds of properties. And in the past 2 years, I've helped buy over 150 properties, and I have been accurate within 31% conservatively. So if I predicted the property was going to make 100,000, it actually ended up making 131,000, which is exactly where I want to be. I like to predict conservatively and then try to hit that best case scenario. And the properties that I've been working with have just been hitting that best case scenario over and over and over again. With that being said, in this video, I'm going to teach you the exact process that I have taught myself and learned over that time period to be able to make sure I didn't make any mistakes. Okay. On top of that, every single last property that I've helped get is a positive cash flowing property. So we have a 100% success rate. Okay. With that being said, I want to show you a little bit more before we actually get into this video, because there's a little bit more context that you need to understand before we get into it. So first off, this template that you can see right here is one of the templates that we'll be going through. It's actually for free. You can just click the link down below and you can get this template. And this is the one that I recommend that you use. I have a couple of different examples in here, the actual template right there, so you can use this, okay? Additionally, this video that you're watching is actually pulled out of a larger course. The course is free, so don't close the video just yet. The course is free. It's called the Bianchi Method. I have 6 free Airbnb data courses, and the Bianchi Method is just one of them. And you're going through right now, let me get to it. These are all the different sections for understanding Airbnb data. Right here, you're going through one of the videos in the property valuation section, which is just a live analysis of me going through the process of trying to predict the annual revenue of a property, okay? So if you wanted to, you can sign up to this for free. Go to strsearch.com and go to the top right corner. It's going to say free courses. You can see what it looks like here, free courses, and sign up for free. Now, with that being said, you might be thinking to yourself, why would I give away all this information for free? Well, the reason I do this is because I want to build trust within the Airbnb community. I want you to trust me. I want you to know that I know what I'm doing. And I want you to be able to use this process to actually find yourself a profitable property. However, if you want me and my company, STR Search, to be able to double check your numbers, right? To just kind of give you that extra boost of confidence that it's a good or bad property, or just how much that property is going to end up making, you can hire us to be able to do that. It's called an air valuation right there. All right. So if you were to do that, you click air valuation, you can watch a little demo video. It's going to give you more information, but in reality, it's everything that you're going to learn in this video today. All right. Last thing I want to say here is that if you are struggling to find a property, reach out to us. That is the main thing that we do, is that we find people profitable properties. Okay. Schedule a call, top right corner, and we will speak with you, and we'll show you exactly how the process works. And then we'll put you into a property that has a really, 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 really good chance of cash flowing on Airbnb. All right. Enough said. Get into the training, learn it, practice it, and sign up for the Bianchi Method so that you can learn everything that you need to know about Airbnb data to find profitable properties. See you guys. Everybody, if you were watching this video, it's because I'm doing the live analysis for a property valuation, just to really get a good hone in on the process for the property valuation process. I've made this for every single one of the different sections where I pretty much do the entire process, pause the video, outline the entire process as I'm continuing to do it. And I think that it's helpful to videotape myself while I'm doing this, so for the extra live, training and information, and just seeing how I'm thinking and how I'm going through this, and ensuring that I'm doing everything I should be doing it. So the property valuation process at this point, we already have gone through building a buy box, and we've already gone through how to hunt down properties on Zillow and take out which one that we think is most important, or that we're most intrigued by. And so at this point, what we're going to do is we're actually going to find a property that we would want to deep dive. So we've deep dived markets. We're now going to deep dive a specific property. And I've already gone through these, and this is the one that I actually want to deep dive the most. It's $280,000, 2 bedroom, 2 bath, and it's a 1,200 square foot place, that is a cabin. So the very first thing I'm going to do here is just review every single last detail about this property. So what I'm going to be attempting to do here is get myself acquainted with the property, all of its little details, everything that I need to know, before I go and actually try and evaluate it and put it up against the other properties that we'd be looking at. So this part is really just reviewing, and I'm going to just speak out everything that I'm seeing so that you can understand exactly what to be looking for as well. A lot of this might already be something that you've heard me say quite a few times before, but you're going to see me doing it again on this specific property. So first thing I'm seeing, and once again, I am going to be kind of looking at the bones of the property and the potential of things that I can do with this property. And so the first thing I can see is that's got a tin roof. Now, this is where my lack of knowledge for Fairbanks really is hurting me, and why it's really important to be able to speak with a realtor in the market. Now, additionally, like the siding, this looks like the lighting is just coming through and making it look a little more worn than it is. Potentially, I would want to get a better look. Like right here, it looks like there's lighter wood. Not that that's going to be a huge factor, but just something that I'm considering. I'm not really seeing any space for a hot tub on the outside of this property right now. Which means that I likely need to put it on the outside if I needed to add a hot tub. But we do have that nice wood look. I'm worried about this down here, if that's going to be a factor as well. Not sure if that's just really cheap or if that's standard, right? And then when we get inside, the first thing that I'm noticing is that the living room is not that big. So like these are fairly close to each other. And it's not that big, but I really like the way this wood looks. I really like how clean it looks in here as well. It doesn't need to be huge. It's just a 2-bedroom, right? So like 4 to 6 people are going to be here at a time. I really like this, the new kitchen. The kitchen looks great. Everything about the kitchen looks really, really solid, and it flows really well with the rest of the wood. So this wood and that color green go together really well. And then they have like a metal countertop, which is all nice. So I like it. It's got the open shelving units, which looks really good in Airbnbs, even though it's not that great. It looks good in Airbnbs. Again, very small space over here. I'd probably put the couch over this way, maybe another couch this way, or sorry, where the other couch is. The dining table is really going to be tight. Okay, so again, that's going to be okay. It's a small 2-bedroom. And then we get outside where we have a bit of a deck, actually. So this is a decent sized deck. Like you can remove all of this and just put some like good, comfortable couching or outdoor couch all the way across here. Those sort of lounge couches. I like the way that the light comes in through here. You get a bunch of hanging lights up there. That could be a nice opportunity for a good photo. I can't tell if this is a bedroom that I'm looking at or additional living room. So I'm going to have to try and keep track of the bedrooms now as I'm going through this. And so as you can see, it's a good sized room. I mean, if this is an additional living room, it makes for a perfect like little pool table room or hangout room or something along those lines. But I have a feeling it's just another bedroom. So this is our first bedroom that we can see here. We got 2 bunk beds. I always pay attention to the rooms themselves and trying to memorize what the rooms look like so that when we see the next room, we can very clearly see that's different. So obviously the last room had that down angle, whereas this one does not. And so this is obviously a different room. Sometimes the rooms are very, 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 very similar, and even they have the same beds in them. It's hard to tell bed frames. It's hard to tell one from the other. So using the windows is a great way to ensure that you're counting the bedrooms properly. Okay, bathroom looks fine. It fits with the style of this location, and that's good with me. We can already start to see the yard. So we have a lot of green space over here, and then a fire pit space over here. We're kind of secluded to the road by all of these trees, which I like a lot. That's very, very intriguing to me. I like what I'm seeing. And then we got a basement on top of this. Okay, so we have a basement, but it doesn't look like it's going to be a full-size basement. I don't think I'd be able to stand up in this basement. It's hard to gauge exactly how tall this is. I don't know. Anyways, we got a full basement. I don't think there's going to be a lot that we can do down here. And it is what it is. I don't think we're going to need to do anything down here, but this could be very helpful for, cleaning and things like that. So the only thing that I don't like about this property is that it doesn't have a dining table space. It almost looks like there's space over here, but I'm just getting a feeling that there isn't, just based off of how they haven't shown anything over there. I think I can explore this in 3D. So I want to see if this will make a difference. Awesome. Okay, should have started with this. So obviously you're not always going to have this option. So reality is you I mean, it looks like you come in here, you got your shoes over here. That doesn't appear to be the entrance. That's just the little patio space back there. So yeah, I mean, you really can't get a dining table anywhere other than that space that it is right there, which again, it is what it is. I just wish there was a little bit more space and feel a little bit more comfortable here. So let's actually go up the stairs. We have this huge extra space. Wow, this is crazy. You can fit a whole other room up here. What I'd probably do is just add a pool table, maybe not necessarily a futon, which is what they have right there, but I would probably try and get 6 people in here, or not make this another bedroom in some sort of way. I don't know how. Might be a futon, might be a bunk bed, might just be something along those lines. But then you have your two of the rooms over here. So we got our bathroom right there, one bedroom. Where's our other bedroom? Interesting. I don't know where. Maybe it's downstairs. Did I miss that? Yeah, okay. Right by the kitchen. Okay. And does that have its own bathroom? It does. But is it a full bathroom? There's no shower, right? Unless the shower is behind the door, but it doesn't look like it. This did say 2 bedroom, 2 bath. So I don't know. Maybe it's just 1.5, two. Oh, sorry, 1.5 bath. Okay. All in all, property looks good. We don't have any photos of the basement, which is understandable. But yeah, again, all in all, property looks good. We can definitely fit 6 people in here comfortably, and so that's likely what we'd end up doing. So now that I've reviewed everything about this property and I have a good understanding of its pros, cons, what I can do with it, what I can't do with it, things like that, get a better idea of what the outdoor space looks like. You got barbecue up there. There's tons of space we can do things over here. Now, mind you, it may not be needed, but we can do it. After we've done all of this, the next thing I'm going to do is get my property valuation set up. Okay, so we are now on the property valuation template, which obviously comes along with this, comes along with the software as well. And we have the template, and then so what we want to do with that template is we want to make a copy. So we're going to duplicate it. And on this duplicated tab, what we're going to do is get everything going. So let's start off with entering in the address. Paste that in there. All right, we know that we're doing this on August 1st, 2023. We want to grab the link for the property. And the reason we're filling all this out is because we want to be able to stay on top of property, the information, everything about this home. So I always like to have all this information in here because I find it to be very helpful when I'm referring to it as I'm going through it. So again, it says 2 bedroom, 2 bath, but we couldn't find the additional full bath. So I'm going to assume that it's just a half bath. So I'm going to put 1.15, and then we got the square footage and the price point. So let's go. Square footage is 1280, and the price point I think is 279,900. Let's see if I got that right. 279,900. Okay. And so now I have this information in here, and I'm going to have to explain this template. All right, so give you an overview of the template just so you can see it as an example. The way that it works is that you add in at the top part all of the information about the property, right? So typically, like notes, I usually leave this empty till I get closer to the end. If there's anything specific about the property that I really want to point out or remember or whatever it may be. Then you have the date it was completed, the property link, bedrooms, bathrooms, square footage, and home size. So these ones here, when you're going through the analysis, if you need to quickly recall how much is this property, or what is the square footage, or how many bathrooms, those things tend to come up as you're going through, so you can quickly refer back to it. Most of this is also just put in here so that you can refer to it as you're going through the evaluation, right? So you can come back to it over and over again. So say you're looking at 5 different properties, and then you want to go and review all of them one by one. You can, and you did an evaluation for all of them. You have all the information just ready to go right there, so you can quickly analyze it and refer to it Then this next section here is going to be the review. So revenue confidence. And this is just once you've completed the analysis, this is technically the last thing that you should be filling out, which lists out all the different, that you feel 100% confident that this property is going to make X. But if you were to, really pull the property together and everything goes well, this is where you're going to end up. If things go wrong, this is where you're going to end up. And that's exactly how I review this and think about this property, or think about this information. Then you have the key features and main concerns. So like the best things about the property, the things you're concerned about the property. Here's where you're going to be putting the majority of your work when you're going to reason out the revenue. So you're going to spend all of your time analyzing all the data to figure out exactly what you think the revenue is going to be and why. And then the design/amenities is where you add in, what do you need to add? Do you need to add a hot tub, a fire pit, things like that? That's where you put that information right there. Then down here, you're going to be adding in all of your different comps for the property. So for this one, we're specifically going to be using pretty well every comp that you see here for Fairbanks, we're going to make use of, and we're going to add down there. And then you're going to make notes on every single one of those properties about how they directly compare to the property that you're reviewing. Okay. So the way that typically works is you're going to fill out this information, then you find all of your comps, you add all of them all in here. Then once you add in all the comps, you then add in your notes on those comps. Once you've completed adding all of the notes, you should understand exactly, you should have an idea of what the property is potentially going to make. And then you write it out here in this section to reason to yourself as to exactly why you believe the property is going to make that amount. And then you can add in these additional things afterwards. So I guess this is not the last one, but you get the idea. Okay, so at this point, that's a quick review of this. And at this point, what we're going to do is I'm actually going to use all of these because these are going to be all of our comps that we've grabbed from Fairbanks. I think that almost all of them can be useful in one way or another. Honestly, the first one's not going to be at all. I don't care for the second one. So I'm actually just going to grab these ones right here. And I'm going to copy all of that. I'm going to bring it to this box right here. I'm going to paste it in. Now all the information's in there, but we don't have the titles. So I have to go back over there and grab the titles. Copy, and we're going to paste all that in. And now you may be thinking to yourself, well, I have all these notes right here. I could just take those notes and apply them directly down here. That's not how it works. These notes are all about how the property directly relates to this specific property. And if you believe that your property can beat that property, or if it cannot, that's the whole thing here. Okay, just added that into the template just to make sure that there's no confusion when people are actually reviewing this. That is what that means. Okay. All right. So let's keep going. The next thing that we're going to be doing here, I've decided on these comps, and the main reason that I grabbed these ones, again, it's going to be from our buy box. So I grabbed them here. I only grabbed these ones because this one is significantly larger. It's not going to be comparable to the small 2-bedroom. And then this one I don't trust. And so then therefore I'm going to be taking all of this information here. Now, I'm going to break this down in other videos, but it's not always going to be this straightforward and easy to understand because, for Fairbanks, we have less than 10 comps that we're actually using. But if we look at, an Austin report, there's a lot. And so the reason that we actually build these buy boxes is to make it so much easier to actually understand what data to use for the properties we're going to be analyzing. And sometimes when you have a crazy amount of data, you really just want to focus in on the green ones. Because those ones are the ones that are maximizing the revenue, which is what you're going to be doing, which is going to allow you to better understand exactly how to compete. But we're going to be using all of the data here just because we have such minimal data. I will, talk about in other videos, again, how to decide what comps to bring in. Okay, so we have all of our data that we want, and we brought it over to our evaluation down here. And what we want to do now is we want to open up all of this data and review it to see exactly why, to see exactly how well this property compares to the property that we are going to be analyzing, right? Okay, so I've now gotten all these properties open. And what I'm going to be looking for is how well do these properties directly compare with the property that we are currently analyzing. Now, the first one I can tell you right off the bat is going to be better than us just because it's along the water. Water always makes a huge difference. Could we design our property to be better looking, have better interior design, all of these different things? Yes, we could. However, this one's going to be a little bit smaller, ours is going to be a little bit smaller, whereas theirs obviously is a 3-bedroom, 2-bath and like a bigger home in general. is an advantage that they have. Now they also only sleep 10 people, which is a good amount. We'd only be able to sleep 6 to maybe 8, but that would really be pushing it. And so um, yeah, I think that this property is not designed nearly as well as what we would do, but it's along the water and it's bigger. And so then therefore it's better. And so that's how I would write this up, right? We're really always just looking for which property is better than us and why. So um, we would not be able to beat this home because it's on the water, larger than us, on the water and larger than us. That's the only things they have on us, and larger than us. And then we go, however, it's not designed well and not a log cabin, which may be our only advantages. However, we likely won't be able to do as well or better than them, right? Really, all we're really doing here is we're trying to figure out, are we better or worse or the same as this property? That's as straightforward as I can possibly make it. Now, this home is a 2-bedroom, 1-bath. It's along the water as well. We know it has the hot tub. It's got the large yard. We have a large yard, but we're not along the water. We're essentially the same size. They're modern. We're rustic. Let's call it. We're a log cabin, right? So they've got that sort of modern look to them that might be helping them. I personally think the log cabin would probably help a bit more than the modern, just because it fits better with the demographic that would want to go to this area from the little bit that I know about Fairbanks. But they're along the water, and so that's going to be really difficult to compete with. We can get the same size couch that they have in. We can do a better design on the interior if we wanted to. We don't have a garage. We don't have a shed, so we can't compete with those things. And again, they do have a hot tub in the water. So what we're going to say here is would not be able to beat, mainly due to the fact that they're waterfront. The property isn't perfect. However, it is modern on the inside, and that likely would directly compete or compare with our log cabin, just because some people like it new, some people like it old, and so it kind of evens itself out. And in some way, in Gatlinburg, Tennessee, you would want it old rather than, so you'd want that log cabin feel more than you would want the modernness. So they wouldn't always do that, but we know that when we wrote up our buy box, we said that we do not need to be a log cabin. Therefore, log cabins are not the biggest revenue drivers. So I don't think we can beat this one. We can't beat it. So it is what it is. We can't beat that home, even with this one being the same size as ours as well. Just that backyard is going to give them such an advantage, The next one is just not really a good comp. It's a 6-bedroom. It's not very comparable. And when it's not comparable, really it shouldn't even be in the data set in the first place. But because, again, we have such limited data, I had to bring it in. They sleep, 12 people. We're going to sleep half that. They're not modern at all. It's not really a great listing. The design of the bedrooms looks cozy, but there's nothing exciting or fun about this place either. Like even the backyard is super plain, super boring, which be some areas that we might be able to compete with, but it's just not a good comp. So not a very comparable property. It's much larger, and it would be impossible to gauge. I think I said spell gauge how it'd be possible to gauge. How do I write this? It'd be impossible to gauge if designing our home better and adding amenities would allow us to do better than them, because there's no data to prove it. Right? So essentially what I'm trying to say here is yes, this property is bigger, but it's not a great listing. So what if we made it into ourselves into a great listing that people were like dying to get to? Could we then compete with them? Okay, so that's what I'm trying to get across there. The next one is our hangar home, and this is going to be the modern again look. It's got a bit of a cool look to it. This is nice. This is a cool feature, but it's not like they're going to be flying the planes around. Um, the interior itself is very modern, looks good. They don't really have anything in the backyard. So I actually could see this property being fairly comparable, other than the fact that it's a 3-bedroom, simply because it's unique and it's put together well. It's not. I mean, they definitely do more, but it's put together well. And so my thought is, I could probably do. Ours is unique as well with the log cabin look, and we could put it together well also. So why would we not be able to do that, right? And I'm going to say might be comparable to ours because they're new and unique, and it's a solid listing. Whereas ours has a lot of character, making it unique, and we could do more on the outside in comparison. Again, this is Fairbanks we're talking about, so it's likely that in Fairbanks there's nothing on the outside because it's cold all year round. So like, why would there be, right? Now this one here is a 3-bedroom, 1 bath. It's a good looking cabin. I think it's like if we look on the inside, so the listing is really bad, but if you look on the inside, it's got a lot of this like true solid logs along there, as you can see. But the kitchen is super dated. Like it's got a bigger interior, but even the floor is not, it's not all wood like what we've got here. I would say we'd be super competitive with this one just because, sure, they have a little bit more of log cabin, but we would be a significantly better listing, right? Like significantly better put together. Bathrooms are whatever, they don't drive revenue. So when I see this, that's all I'm thinking is yeah, it's a little bit bigger, it's a little bit better. How many people do they sleep? They sleep 6. We're gonna sleep 6. They have a garage, but they didn't do anything with their garage. They have a backyard, but they didn't do anything with their backyard. So all this is just telling me that we could be extremely competitive with these. Now, one thing I haven't mentioned yet, and I will get to, is the location of everything. We are going to get into that. But for now, what I'm going to do is just pretty much mention how strongly believe that we could do as well, if not better, than this home. Even though it's slightly larger and more log cabin-ish in the inside, our listing would be superior in every way, meaning design and backyard and everything, which would allow us to compete. Only concern is location. So the only concern, and that's going to be my main concern with this property, is mainly the location. I don't think I brought this up yet, but I did look at it when I was getting ready for this video. This property is right there, and obviously Fairbanks downtown is right there, and all of our properties are somewhat along this line, this sort of like way here, whereas this property would be up here. So the closest one is going to be this one, which is doing 65, and this one is is this property here, which we'll get into fairly shortly. So, anyways, you get the idea. It's way up here, but this one's also way up in the middle of nowhere. So it's hard to say exactly how much of a difference it's going to make. But I think if we build this place that people like would really want to go to, it could make a bit of a difference. We'll get into that when we get into it. But for the most part, I think we can do as well as this home. It's also very comparable to ours, but the size of it, it's just the location, the size, the look, everything. We'd even be more secluded than this property, um, which has an advantage. Who doesn't love privacy, right? I don't know if I spelled secluded right, but that's okay. So now this one, again, this is going to be our one of our location wise our most comparable property. Other than that, not super comparable. But if you think about it, it's got a small dining room, a decent living room, and we've I've reviewed this property obviously in all the other videos as well. And it's got this second space back here, which we have that second space in the upstairs of our property, which I'll just refer back to for anyone who doesn't remember. This whole space up here, that's all extra space we have. So we actually would be pretty well the exact same size, but we're a log cabin and we're in the same area and we put together a better listing. So when I see this, everything tells me we'd beat this home, right? So everything tells me that we would beat this home because we're in the same general area. We are a log cabin, which always helps. We would put together a better listing with more amenities, better design, more amenities, and we're the same size. Therefore, I strongly believe that we can outperform this listing. Right, so I'm now confident that we're going to do better than this one, just simply because it's such a boring place, but it's still pulling in the amount that's pulling in, likely due to just being reliable and something that is, it's not really offering an experience. It's just kind of like a hotel room in a sense where it's clean, it's ready to go, it's probably got good reviews, everything kind of checks the boxes of what people would be looking for. So anyways, that one I feel super confident about. This one I'm going to ignore because we actually have vetted this data to not be accurate multiple times now. So if you've been watching the other videos, I've gotten rid of it multiple times as well. I just remembered that. I got to really check that off on the buy box and make that one yellow as well because it has been a hassle to deal with. So I don't know why I don't just delete them out. I've said that like 10 times now, but it is what it is. So anyways, we've removed it. I'm just going to grab this piece of data and bring it up here and then grab these two and bring it all the way down. So there we go. Okay, so now we have, what did I do there? I think I copied and pasted it. All right, so now we just have one left, right? So the one left is this one, which is one I've reviewed multiple times, and it is very clearly, all right, sorry, I just had to make a note there. If I come back, this property is comparable, but I want to say smaller, but it actually is. It's almost the exact same size. It's actually, no, sorry, it is smaller because first off, the kitchen is a lot smaller and a lot worse looking. Yes, they have a little bit more room for a dining table, but they don't have that additional room that we have upstairs. So that's going to give us a whole other space. And then the listing itself is just like it's done so quickly, right? Like where do the photos go? Why are there no photos? And it automatically is like they just don't. It's not a good listing. So I know without a doubt we will do better than this listing. Simple as that. I don't really need to put in too much more. It's so straightforward for this one that it's fine. Now, what you'll realize, okay, if you've been, as we've been going through, is that we don't think we're going to beat the first one. We don't really think we're going to beat the next one. The third one, we're not going to be it's not a very comparable property just because it's much larger. But then the fourth one, we might be comparable, right? We have a good feeling that we actually could do as well as this property as long as location doesn't really matter. And then the next one we get to, we strongly believe that we could do as well, if not better than this home. We're confident. That's number 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which is going to be this one here. And so for this one, we're like, yeah, you know, we feel that we are going to do as well as that home. And this is where this is the 100%. So this one gives us the feeling of, if this guy's doing this well, we're likely going to do that well. And that's really where you feel confident in what you're doing, where you're going, yep, that makes a ton of sense. I think that we could do just as well as what those people are doing. And then underneath, the next two below are the ones that reconfirm that you could do as well as this one. Okay. So when you then look at the next one, you go, well, obviously we're going to beat that one. There's so many ways we could beat this one. And then the same thing goes again, where it's like, this one's not, yes, it's somewhat comparable, but like we would dominate this listing. And so what essentially ends up happening is you have a handful of properties, which would be these ones right here, where you don't believe you're really going to do as well as them. You're like, I don't think we can, or they're not very comparable. And you're just like, they're not properties that we're going to compete with. Then you come across one that you're super confident that you're going to do likely as well as, and then the other ones you are you know for a fact that you're going to beat, right? And so you've got ones that are better than you, ones that you know for a fact you're going to beat, and somewhere right in the middle. Okay, so that is the main process of what ends up happening as you go through these properties and make notes on every single one of them as you review them directly up against the properties that you're looking at. Is now what happened is we now feel that this property is going to make around 80,000, and it's definitely going to make more than 65,000, and it likely, now these ones aren't as comparable, so this is where it's going to get a little bit confusing, because if I say I don't think we're going to make 88, 86, or 83, but I feel like we're going to make 80, that doesn't really make a ton of sense, right? And there's a couple of reasons why that could be. Now, the first one is that these listings are just not as comparable to what property that you'd be looking at. That's one option. In other words, they're just not directly relatable, but this one is relatable. And so when I looked at these ones, I was like, I think they're going to beat us because of the water. But then when I look at this one, I go, well, they're actually just, the water doesn't seem to be driving their revenue up that much. Okay, so that's one scenario. The other scenario is that this piece of data is not as reliable as the rest of this data, whereas these ones are, you know, two of them are along the water, one's really large, the other one's like this unique bush plane. So it kind of makes sense that they all have this sort of special thing about them that's allowing them to do so well. And you could lump this one in there and say it's a log cabin, and that's what's allowing it to do as well with all of these. That could be the reality, or it could just be that this one is, maybe the data is slightly off, right? That happens all the time. That's why we also have all the data. We take more than one piece of data so we can find a good pattern with all the data, so that if we have an outlier that doesn't make sense, we can remove it, which is what we did with the buy box template. We got rid of these two pieces of data because it just logically didn't make any sense. And so I can tell you how I would analyze this in this scenario, where I would see this and go, okay, I strongly believe that we'd be able to beat this. However, doesn't really make a ton of sense with the remaining data I see above, right? The fact that it's only making less than, you know, $5,000 to $10,000 in comparison to these other ones that I thought for sure were going to beat us. But I am super confident that we're going to fall here. So if I ignore this listing altogether, and I know for a fact I'm going to do better than 65, and I don't think I'm going to really hit 86, let's say, that was the one that I was like super confident, that gives me a $20,000 range. And so the way that I would honestly write this up is I would end up saying that I'm fully confident that my worst case scenario is going to be about $65,000 a year. Okay. I also fully believe that my best case scenario is probably going to be about $85,000 a year. If I can somehow make my property unique and it stands up to these ones here, because I did feel that it could do as well as the bush plane one, just because it was unique and I'd be unique as well. And I'd put together a stronger listing. Therefore I could probably get up to this 82. And that's where I get that 85, right? And then the 100% confidence, it would be technically directly in between those two, which would put me at 75,000, which then removes this one as a comp that I'm using. But at the same time, if you think about it logically, I'm still super close in my prediction to that actual analysis. So it is likely that this is true. It's just sort of a one-off property that has bad photos but it's doing well, and maybe that's because it's a log cabin and that's helping it boost up its revenue. But regardless, I did come to the conclusion of these three numbers. Now, typically I would not write these three numbers in here. So what I would do from here, and I should have done this instead of doing anything else, is okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to write out the reasoning for the revenue. So this is typically how I'd write this up, where I go, comp 1 and 2 are both along the water, Actually, let me explain this a little bit at a higher level of what I'm doing here. I'm looking for the two comps that are better than us, so ones that I don't think that we can beat. Then I'm looking for the ones that is the most comparable, and then I'm looking for the ones that are referred to as the base comps. And those base comps are going to be these ones down here, and I'm going to write it out in a way where it logically makes sense as you're going through it. You can understand why those are better, why they are similar, and why you're going to beat these ones. And then therefore it gives you this nice little range, and you understand exactly where you're going to end up falling within that range. Okay. So comp one and two are both along the water, which automatically gives them a leg up on all other properties. As we can see from their revenue, even though their listings are not great. So as you can tell, what I'm doing now is I'm pretty much like rewriting the notes that I made down here, but I'm writing them up into this section here. And I'm also using some logic to prove what I'm trying to say. So at the same time, I'm saying like, yeah, they're better than us because of these reasons. And you can tell that because the listings are actually not that great, but they're performing better than everybody else. So like that obviously is a driving factor for the revenue, right? Therefore, I don't believe we will do as well as these properties. Sorry, I got a new keyboard. It's really hard to type on it. It's driving me nuts. I'm getting a new one. So, anyways, okay. So comp 1 and 2, therefore, I don't believe these properties. Okay, and then we go comp. I'm going to skip over comp 3 and go straight to comp 4. So comp 4 is the hangar listing, which is unique, and it's a good listing for the most part. It's not great, it's just good. It's a good listing. To me, I believe our property could potentially, so see, I'm not super confident with the words I'm using, potentially do as well as this listing because we would also be unique. Technically with our log cabin, which makes us comparable. And I believe we could put together a better listing. However, property is quite different than ours, and so it's hard to know for a fact that theory is true. Now comp 5 is our most comparable property because it's a log cabin and sleeps the same number of people. Now, with that being said, I strongly believe that we could outperform that listing because it's a bad listing. It's not designed well at all. Photos are terrible, and the photos are terrible, and there are no amenities. With that being said, right? So with that being said, if we believe that we can do better than this listing, they're saying that we can do as well or better than comps above it, which we just determined that we likely couldn't beat. Therefore, have to assume this data might be slightly off, and I'm not going to assume we will strongly beat it. If anything, just do as well, or close to. If the comps above had a wider spread, then as in making more, then I would assume we would do better. Okay, and then comp Comp 6 is our closest property. It's a property closest listing. And it's significantly worse than ours. Holy. Therefore, I feel 100% confident that we will absolutely beat this home. The same goes for comp 7. Don't even really need to get into it. All of this being said, I don't believe we can easily beat comps 1 and 2. I strongly believe we can beat comps 6 and 7, which puts us in a range from 85K to 65K. I believe we'll end up between the two, with both ends being our best case and worst case scenario. Making it more believable that we will end up near comp 5, which is our most comparable property. At this point, usually I don't just speak it out and type in these numbers up here. Usually I have to go through all this and kind of reason it out as I'm continuing to go through and make sense. I'll try and explain that as much as I can in all the other trainings. You probably would have already watched them. But anyway, so that's how I would write all that up and be able to come up with this analysis that you can see here. The thing that I would then do from this point is if I'm doing underwriting for this, right, I need to say, okay, what design and amenities am I going to need to add to this? I obviously know that I'm going to need good design, so I don't really go into that. I'm going to say that I need a hot tub because we know with our buy box that would definitely help, right? Hot tub on the deck definitely helps. I'm also going to want to put a fire pit with lights around it. I know we have space for that in the back spot. That's going to be, you can see it from here, right around there. I'm probably going to get some additional outdoor games. So like outdoor games include, cornhole and Connect 4 and things like that. We're going to need outdoor patio and hanging lights. We're going to need a pool table upstairs. Even if it's a small one, we still want to get it. Sorry, I got a call coming in, but I'll ignore it. We want a pool table up there. And then I'm trying to think of what other games we could potentially put in the yard that would be worth it. A jungle gym. Maybe not. I don't think so. I don't think a jungle gym would be the target market for this. There's no other proof of any of these other people having anything in their lawn that we could base this off of. So really what I'd have to do for this is just like pull from other markets to try and make sense of it. But you can see here they have this really nice sort of setup. We would also probably want to get a propane fire pit on patio. That'd be a given. We'd want a barbecue up along the edge there as well. I'm just trying to think of what could we put over here that's, maybe installing horseshoe game. We'd already have like cornhole and whatnot. Maybe a volleyball net to give some more games that people could be doing. Again, there's only going to be so many people, so maybe not. Actually, I'm going to take that away because there really is only so many people playing there, so it is what it is. But anyways, I put all that in there because these are all the things that I need to put into my underwriting that I'm going to be adding to this property and when I'm doing it. And then key notes I want to make is to figure out how to sleep two people in the pool table room and potentially a pull-out couch in the main living room. Now, I probably wouldn't want to go with 8 people, but I would be looking into this just in case, because the reason I wouldn't want to go with 8 people is just for the dining table. There's obviously not a lot of space for the dining table, but if you think about it, so if we go back to the kitchen for a second here, we've got 3 seats over here, and I'm always concerned that people can't eat all together. I think that's something that's really a big deal for whenever I go with my family and my friends. We always eat dinner and breakfast together, so you could technically have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 people all eating technically at the exact same time. So I would probably still push for 8 in this property. I think it would just allow for that. And if that's the case, might want to go for volleyball because you could play 4 on 4. Anyways, but the key features is obviously going to be the fact that it's a log cabin, secluded. And then it's going to be also the pool table room and the yard. All right, so those are all going to be my advantages. My main concern is the location, which is something that I actually didn't write too much in here, which typically I would get a little bit more into that. So I'll make sure to make notes on that with the other ones I'm going through and stress this factor. But I think the main reason I'm not overly concerned about the location is because of this one here, which appears to be somewhat just as far away. So this one is here, we're right here, and it seems to be just as far from the downtown. It doesn't really seem like a lot of people are going to the downtown. And then on top of that, this one, and this one are probably all just as far away. And so again, it's really not that concerning. Just realizing that there's 2 that are right on top of each other, but I think this is the one that we vetoed already. Oh no, there's that one. And then there's this one. Oh, it's the same listing that showed up twice. Right, and I cleared that one out because it was they were both showing almost the exact same revenue, so it's fine. Okay, yeah, pretty well. I'm okay with the location. I would want to be looking into that. We're looking at 75,000 into 279, so that's gonna go. Let's go 279,900 divided by 75. 1, 2, 3 works out to. Percentage wise, I think we're going to -1 from this. I think I'm doing it backwards. So let's go 75, 1, 2, 3 divided by 279,900. And we're going to get the 26% price to rent ratio, which we will then test out in our underwriting modules, which we'll be getting into when we get into them. So I think I pretty well have everything that I wanted to cover in this. And obviously I'm going to break it down way more in depth for you in the other modules, but that would be the exact process I would go through to be able to figure this out. I hope that made sense. There's a lot of different nuances to this. So I am going to be doing quite a bit of work to make this make sense for everybody and probably adding some like challenges and steps and whatnot. And anybody who's really good, I'm likely going to end up hiring you, just so you know. So hope this made sense. If you have any questions, please reach out and let me know.